that prairie dog money is gonna be spent, instead of just giving the township a fee, it's gonna be according to miles.
Yep.
They're paid by the miles.
Isn't that always been that way?
Not the one fee, right?
One payment, you mean?
They do things, sometimes they treat everybody equally, and sometimes it's by miles.
Okay.
But they made a new legislation, they hurried up and made it.
I've had several townships talk to me because obviously they know that they're gonna have to pay for blading now. You know, that the word's been spread around enough. And, you know, I kind of thought a year ago or last summer when we were talking that some of these miles would be dropped by townships, but, you know, the townships have reached up to me and said, well, we don't want to drop, because if we drop miles in our township,
You lose
it means
payments.
Yep, less prairie dog money.
Yep. And potentially other money, FEMA
Yeah.
money, and
Yeah.
there's, yeah.
And I'm sure you'll see in March this year, a lot of them will be increasing their mills, because that's the only way they can get grants, if they're full mills, 18. Because there's a provision for that too, right?
Right, yeah.
So you'll see that change coming.
Yeah,
They wanted to get this done.
Well, I
quick.
think what Dan would know, and I'm not trying to put the heat on him, but, well, a year ago, wasn't there only about 12 out of the 36 townships that were at the max mills?
Right,
Right.
right.
But have any changed?
Yeah, there's a couple.
There've been a couple.
There's a couple that bumped up. And then it's interesting, we had one, it's a little ways south of Desmond, that bumped up to 18 and then saw their preliminary tax statements and said, no, we're going back. So, and, you know, when you think about this, the township board in any given township that's rural probably is somewhere between a half and a third of the entire population of the township.
Right.
So they were just essentially protecting their own taxes.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of goofy, but yeah, they requested to come in. Literally, they've been on, I'll just say, been on the township board for 30 years and came in and asked me how finances work.
We kind of found that out a lot when we went to all the
Yeah.
meetings there last year.
So-
In fact, we should have had the meetings with all the clerks. I think they're more in tune
Yeah.
with that than some of the supervisors.
Technically, I think the clerks are the only ones that really know what's going on in the township.
Well,
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them-
you're a little blunter in saying that. I
I'd
would
say some of
kind
them,
of be subtle.
Yeah, I get it.
but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we move into that?
Yeah.
The novel approach, whether.
Okay, the novel approach would be, just like Brent said, all the townships are aware that we are going to charge them for blading. There's the devil's in the details as to what will that dollar amount be. Okay, instead of us being the bad guy, what do you think of the idea of writing a letter to each township and saying, reviewing what went on last summer, the road department's in the red, what would be your recommendation to us as to what we should charge you per mile, considering the fact that this is the going average, and then whatever the going average in the state is from $2.50 to $3.50 a mile. Okay, you need to be reasonable in this request, and we want inputs from each township, and the commissioners will then determine what that dollar amount will be. That's making them the bad guys.
They make the decision somewhat.
Dan?
I am thinking because we have the annual township
Right.
officers meeting before this group meets again, that we need to assess, and we could ask that same question. So Dale Schmitz thinks that on March 3rd I should be handing out a statement to each of the 36 townships.
Before their annual meeting.
Handed out to them at that township
March 3rd
officers
meeting.
meeting.
Annual meeting.
Saying, here's your bill for 2025. I like your idea. I think we've talked about $100 as a fair first step, just to mitigate part, it's not gonna solve the problem.
No,
You know
it
this.
doesn't do anything,
It's gonna
really.
be $134,000 or whatever, which is only a part of what we're talking about in the deficit, but we have to start someplace. And I just think, and if you don't agree with the $100, come up with your own idea, but we have to start someplace, and they have to be prepared to pay it this year.
Would it be safe to say that you could email the clerks or the secretaries of all the townships and say that bring your proposal on that day of March 3rd?
No, you're still gonna wanna,
Well,
I see Dale's point.
Bring your letter and drop it off there.
Well, the reason I kinda see Dale's point is because after the Association of Townships meeting that we have on March 3rd,
Right.
in 2 weeks,
They
these
all have their
townships
annual
are
meeting.
having their annual meeting. And that's when they're gonna be all together, and so I understand where he's coming from there. Because, you know, if they don't get it till April, these guys are starting to get in the field, and they're not having another big meeting until the following March.
No, I mean emailing them in the next week, so when they come on the March 3rd, they can have their answer like Stan's talking
Well,
about.
that's what,
They could, but he has to have a statement ready by then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was gonna
we
preface
won't have
this
a
by
meeting.
saying-
Yeah, you won't have another meeting.
I think my suggestion of doing this is maybe too late.
Exactly.
You'd have to, well, you can, if
Yeah, I know,
people
but
would
I know what you're
respond,
saying.
like you said, if you email them this letter in a couple days, and what do you think, but
Yeah.
they'd have to have a special meeting to decide that.
And 90% of them are not gonna get together and do that.
No.
No, they're not.
So should we just go ahead with the $100, so
I
when they
think
have
we're
the
stuck
meeting,
with doing that right
when
now.
we get to the meeting, they know that what that is?
Yep.
I would say, and then next year, we plan ahead a little bit where we said that this helped us this much, but we probably are gonna have to increase. What would you guys recommend?
Well, they were gonna be the bad guy twice.
Well,
That's
We're
the
gonna be
downside
the
of
bad guy all the
it.
time anyway.
Not if they suggest it, but,
We gotta start somewhere.
when's the latest you can give them this? I mean, we can't in July send them a bill.
No, I really feel like we have to give it to them on the 3rd of March.
Right.
yes.
And that'll be
Okay.
so that anybody that meets whenever they meet, and they can meet any day now
Yeah.
in the month of March. Nobody's gonna meet before that, because all you got is a Saturday and a Sunday.
Right.
So they gotta have something
But
in hand.
next
at
year,
the
Stan, we can call it, we reevaluate. And
Right.
it either really helped us or it didn't do much, you know?
Right.
We need more money.
Well, another thing you possibly could do is I think that the 8 meetings or the 9 meetings that you had in July of last year, I don't think it needs to be done every year, but it maybe wouldn't hurt to schedule something like that again at the end of July or early August before harvest gets into the run. So you can meet with them and answer any questions on, okay, what do you guys think of what we have done?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, at that point you can say, well, you know, we're thinking about going up a little bit more. This was a starting thing. I don't think you need to meet with them like you did last summer every year.
No.
But in a situation like this, 2 years in a row with a major change in how we're doing things, I don't think that would be out of the realm of a bad idea either.
Overall, I think we had very good participation when we met.
Only one township was not represented.
And the other thing was, I think a lot of them, it helped them more than us. A lot of them learned a lot of stuff about finance of that
It's just too bad we can't get a better participation.
at this annual.
At March
It would be,
It's just more efficient, we don't have to
it would be
schedule
something
9
that I
meetings.
can work on, obviously, through text messaging. I have every township and really encourage them to be present. But what we did last summer with the townships, it may not be as necessary, but I would like to see us do that whenever with the cities, the fire departments, the ambulance districts, et cetera, to open up more, I guess, communication between they and us, and
It's very similar to us doing it with our other committees and boards and
Right,
stuff.
right.
I think overall there was a positive feedback of
Oh,
you guys
I-
meeting with those
I
townships
heard a
over
lot
those.
of good stuff from
Yeah.
you guys, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a number of them come up and said, geez, thanks for doing this, this was good for us, so. I don't think it'd be a bad deal to do it whenever.
If you guys decide on the $100 a mile, are you gonna set any stipulations on how many times we're blading these roads?
Yeah, that's gonna be the first question. You have to-
I would say that it would be as is now.
Because I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I feel very confident in telling you this. Your phones will ring.
Yeah,
You're-
we'll
If
say
there's
that.
a rainy spell or whatever, and the first thing that's gonna come out of their mouth to you guys and me
Paid for it.
is we're paying $100 a mile and I have not seen a blade in 11 days or 14 days. And I'm just prepping you for
That's
that.
because you're only paying $100 a day.
Yeah, yeah, well, I hear you. I just,
Can we go park that extra one on those miles?
yeah. You know, I mean, it is what it is, and the guys are just gonna keep going around the route like they always have, okay? It's just that, I mean, when they haven't paid for something ever, and now they're gonna start paying for something, even though, in my opinion, it's too little, there's gonna be more complaints, and that's gonna be the first thing that come out of their mouth.
Well,
We're
I
paying
think
for
it's
blade.
gotta be stated right up
Yeah.
front that the routes will be as is.
Whatever you guys decide, we're gonna do. I just wanted to throw that 2 cents in.
Here's the thing.
We gotta have that in the policy thing, what we say. They're gonna be bladed as usual.
Bladed as the guys are just gonna keep
As
going
needed.
around the routes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gotta go in that statement.
Yeah.
You know, and I've mentioned this before, but it really needs to be instilled in all the townships in that prairie dog money, when that gets sent from the state to the townships, what's it for? Tell me what it's for, you guys.
Fixing roads.
Fixing roads?
Graveling and
What else?
maintaining.
Fixing, graveling.
Blading?
Blading, maintaining.
Blading, but they
Every
don't,
note.
okay, but they don't blade roads. So part of that money should go to us, so it's really not theirs to start with, right?
Well, then you got townships that are
Well,
sitting on $150,000 in their account right now. They're not using the money they got.
I
They're
know.
using it like a savings account.
Some are and some
Depends
don't
on
have
what
any.
township.
Some got money and some don't.
Arguably, the best thing that came out of those meetings last year is that Wells County does not take any of their resources.
Right.
Yeah, which some still thought.
Because
Right.
thankfully, since
Right.
we held those meetings, I've never been asked that question again.
Mhm.
I got that question routinely before that. Well, how much are you guys keeping?
Right.
Oh, I know.
Right.
So, are we kinda all in agreement with that figure? Do we need a motion on that?
Yes, we do.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Then state it,
$100.
$100 per mile.
Yep.
Township.
Routes as they are right now.
Okay.
Round bladed as they are.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Boone second. Brian L. made the motion. Any other discussion? Any discussion? Okay. I think the thing that we definitely keep in mind is that we review this again then next year.
Yeah, it's an annual.
Evaluate it.
Ongoing communication.
Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I see Larry's here, should we jump down to that deal?
Fair.
Larry, you want to come up?
Okay. Tammy gave you all a copy of our culvert policy with you.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, any questions on that?
Yeah, we had
We do we do have a new question now.
Okay.
Was there any major changes here that you made from before, or?
No, this is the same one-page thing that we brought to the commission, it's a couple of years ago, I suppose now, isn't it, Tammy?
Yeah.
So, basically, I guess, one of the reasons that we want to get this taken care of is we can clarify any problems with townships. So everybody knows we pay 60% of the cost of replacing a culvert in a assessed drain. and the county pays 40. So we don't need to go this battle back and forth of, you know, is it township, is it not, or whatever.
And that's one in the state law.
Yeah, and this is basically what you see here in front of you is all the century codes that do this. That's all that's in there.
I think we're all on board with that. The new issue that came up, and one of you guys want to explain that?
You want me to?
Yeah.
East of the dam, east of the Hiawatha, or the dam in Sykeston.
Yep.
Okay. There's a little bridge that runs underneath the township road underneath 56th Avenue.
Yep, just
Okay.
northeast of Sykeston there.
Yep. And now they want to take that bridge out and put culverts in.
Okay.
Okay, that is a joint thing between, if the water board, is that involved because it's the pipe stem? Because the water board was part
that
of
a legal
Lake Hiawatha when you put the pipes in there? So does that fall back on the 60/40 with the water board?
That would not, because it's outside of that. I'm not going to say that we couldn't participate in that, but that's something we'd have to look into.
Because it's the pipe stem drain, right? So how, I guess,
But it's
my
not,
question,
the trouble is, it's not an illegal assessed drain.
but then, so, I'm just asking,
Yep.
how was the water board involved then was that through FEMA or what with the new pipes that went in Sykeston?
Mm-hmm.
How does that include the water board in on that, but not the type pipe stem 2 miles down?
Okay.
Is that fair
That
enough?
was-
Yeah,
That's
that's a good answer.
That was the
Yep.
question.
Yep. No, good question. We did that as a joint flood control project with the township down there
Okay.
because of all the problems that it caused. Because every time that, okay, I guess we'll back up. I'll explain why we did that, what we did. Okay, we did an engineering study to see how can we get the water into the reservoir faster so it doesn't back up and then have to come up over the top of the road.
Right.
Or get into the Rocky Run like it was.
In 2011.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's why that project was done. Because what would happen is that water was building up probably 3 miles to the northwest of Sykeston. That water would start going over the roads and then it would head off to the Rocky Run. And then finally, once that water finally, washed out the road or did whatever it did in Sykeston, then it would quit going that way. But the trouble is, once that water gets there, it can't come back to the Pipestem Creek. It's got to go to the Rocky Run. And then, of course, it would take out every single road that it went over, all the way to the Rocky Run.
How
Yeah.
many years ago was that?
2019 is when
Yep.
we started into that, and I think the fall of 2020 is when we...
Well, we had, that's when, in the fall of 19, in September, we had like 8 inches of rain down by Bowden at the end of September,
Yep.
and then 3 weeks later, 30 inches of snow.
Yep.
It was
And
nice.
the Rocky Run flooded terribly. The water run all winter long. A lot of those culverts never even froze up that winter.
Yep.
So
Even in the
getting back-
drains.
Getting back to the original question, there's probably a definite need that this needs to be done, and
Mhm.
I guess we're asking if you guys can
Who's gonna pay
participate
for
in
it?
that. Yeah.
$1 million question,
Yeah,
right?
really.
How big is that bridge, do you know?
It's the hydrology study 2 miles east was for 3 96-inch pipe. Okay. The bridge itself is 20 feet across, 18 foot long, and the channel is basically 12 feet deep.
Mhm.
And going by the hydrology study from 2 miles east of there, where there was 3 96s put in,
Mhm.
we just figured that it was going to take 3 96s to the channel would have to be widened out.
Mhm.
So we're looking at roughly $60,000 a pipe.
60,000 a pipe.
No,
No,
4 pipe.
For the
For-
pipe.
okay.
For all three,
Okay,
sorry,
I was
for all
gonna
three.
say, man, that's a lot.
Did I say a pipe? I meant the pipe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
60,000 for all 3 pipe.
Yeah.
Roughly 19,000 a piece.
Mhm.
These would be 60 footers, 5-to-1 bevel lifting lugs, 10
Yep.
10 gauge.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Now, let's go back to the road where this bridge is. It's when you're on the east side of Sykeston, you just drive right out of town, that's where it's at, correct?
No, this
Or
is
some X miles
56,
down?
this is like 2 miles east. It's they call it the labor road.
Okay, gotcha.
Off the railroad.
Yep.
Yep.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
It's just-
Well, actually, Dave,
They were in earlier today.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they were just here.
we talked about that couple years ago already.
Yep, we've been talking about it for several
That's an
years.
old
This
subject.
has been
Yep.
hanging here for years.
Yep,
Just never
Right.
dries out down there.
and
What's that?
It
see,
just never dries out. down
yeah,
there.
and then, you know, the last meeting, or it was either the January or December meeting, we changed or these guys approved the new culvert policy where they're no longer responsible for pipes 60 inches or bigger underneath township roads.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what, all of a sudden, these guys called me, believe it or not, a month later, going, hey, we're thinking about doing this bridge. And it's like, these guys just changed the culvert policy, and that's why that brings us to where we are today.
Mhm.
Correct?
Okay.
Yes.
So,
I don't know how that we would do that because it's not a flood control project, like Sykeston was. I guess we'll talk about it. But I know right now, we are not sitting in a very good position financially after all the
Welcome to
trouble.
the club.
Yeah, right?
I mean, in all reality, on the 60-40 split, you know, you're looking at county, what, 60% of 60,000 is 36,000, and, you know, water board 24,000.
Mhm.
My pheasant map. You know, if we were able to work something out with the
Mhm.
60-40 split.
Can you write the check today? No.
We'll have a check on the
Yeah.
desk for.
So, I guess that was you answered
And
our question.
that's what we told them when they left, we would visit with you guys and see what we can do.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's something that's not gonna be done next month.
Yeah, because typically, now you change the policy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
60 and larger, you pay.
We no longer pay.
No longer pay for any pipes.
No longer
No.
pay for any pipe underneath township roads, no matter the size.
Okay.
And realistically, when you talk about that, there's hardly any 60-inch or bigger pipe underneath township roads than are in an assessed drain or in the river.
Yep.
You know, 95% of the pipe underneath these township roads are 24 or smaller.
Yep. Right.
So it doesn't take a large effect in Wells County. It's gonna be a one here or there, and that's about it.
And the problem came out, they had a new culvert policy, but this has been in the works for a couple of years, so that's why we're
Mm-hmm.
kind of listening to this. Yeah.
Right. No, I get that.
Well, it was almost eerie because I got a phone call 3 weeks after the meeting from Pat Beal.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, hey, where are the pipe for this bridge project over on the Labor Road? I said, what are you talking about? And another supervisor had called Beal and said, come out and give us an estimate. I immediately called Dave and I said, Dave goes, I don't know nothing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they hadn't made any decisions, and that's how it all got brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the township communications.
Yeah, so anyway, I
So
guess.
anyway, maybe you guys can discuss it too, and
Yeah, I guess the thoughts that I have is how would we finance that because we can't assess anybody for it. And obviously, we would end up having to put that into our budget, which comes and indirectly comes back from you guys anyway.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about it next Tuesday if you'll put that on the agenda.
Oh, I got your message. The 42 still aren't in.
Really?
I think they're having a problem. Right. The 36s are in.
Okay, we're probably gonna have to get them made, I bet.
That's why they hadn't shipped the 36s out yet, because they were going to ship them all together.
Okay.
I was gone that day when you called and I forgot to call you back.
Yeah, no problem. We're just gonna start doing some of that work here in the next month or so, hopefully.
So anyway, that's where we're at with that thing. Do we need a motion on this, Dan?
Yeah, and you need a roll call vote as well with it.
Just being it's your,
Pardon?
hang on for a second. So it's fair to say that within any existing drain, water board is responsible for 60%, county has 40% responsibility?
Yep. And of course, then there's also wordage in there about new drains or whatever, but,
We'll worry about new drains.
yeah. Hopefully that never comes to be.
So,
When was the last drain actually started?
Hurstfield. And that's the nightmare that keeps on giving.
You're gonna be able to pump that?
Well, we're gonna start in the spring again, providing they let us. So, state controls it all.
So eventually, if they won't let you pump it, what's gonna happen to it?
If water keeps coming up, it'll make its own route out of there.
Is it still being added to by other drains?
Other drains.
Are people draining and it's ended up there that normally weren't draining before?
And not to our
Is there a lot
knowledge.
of-
Nobody's reported that anyway.
Is there a lot of tiling going on to fill into there?
Not much. Not that we've been notified, because they have, any tiling that gets done down there, since it's a cess drain, we have to be notified about it. And I don't remember the
Oh, we have to
last
prove
permit
all-
we've had.
Yeah, we have to put all file permits.
Yeah, you know, Weckerly's did one right along the highway down there, about 3 years ago already. Brian did a little, I think 15-acre project or something like that. I don't know if anybody else that's done any.
I mean, I'm just curious, because there's a lot of water there, and if you can't go anywhere, what are you gonna do with it?
Yep.
It is quite a bit lower than the high though, isn't it?
What, I think it's quite a bit lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'd
definitely
say-
lower than high.
What's
From
the
being out there in the
sulfate
boat,
got?
it's probably 2 feet lower than it was 2 or 3 years ago.
It's got
Oh, yeah.
room for a lot of water.
Well, the west side is down a lot. I was out there fishing. It's down a lot.
You were fishing?
Yeah, because somebody opened
How
up.
I know,
Right, yeah.
You call me.
what is the sulfate's gotta be for that to pump legally?
Okay, at the James River location on Old Highway 52 here, we need to be 425 or lower, I believe.
Last fall, they were 11 and 1200 down there. Somebody checked them.
Yep,
They were 11 and 1200.
Yep.
With 30 inches of rain last summer, this is just a theory looking at this.
mhm.
How are they gonna get down from 11 and 1200 to 425 and make this pump go?
It's all in the mixing. When there's water running, then the sulfate levels in that water are lower. And,
And it was running in from the south yet when they did this test this fall.
okay, yeah, but it's going into the lake, and the lake
Yeah.
is highly concentrated.
Concentrated.
This
I
is,
understand that, but
this is where
it's
the,
gotta come down a long ways in order for this to pump.
well, we gotta have running water to discharge
Right.
into.
Didn't we have running water this last spring?
What's that?
But you did it in the fall. There wasn't.
Yeah, but they had 30 inches of rain all summer and they never could pump it this last summer, you guys. Them pumps never ran last summer. Not very much, very little.
We ran until end of June, was it?
But not,
Well, whenever the water quit running in the channels, that's when we had to quit. And we monitor
Well-
those. And this year, we're gonna actually, we left the equipment in the channel this winter with the idea that hopefully, once the water just starts to run, we don't have to wait for the ice to come off and, then start pumping. Or, get the equipment back installed into the river and all that.
well, I just hope it works. It just seems like it's gotta come down a long ways to me.
Yeah. It's definitely lower than it was. There's no question about that.
That's sulfates.
No,
The
the
water
level of
lake.
the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's gonna make the sulfates go down in the reservoir?
A lot of runoff.
The snow melt and stuff like that.
Weather related.
I realize that, but the chances of that happening aren't real good at this present time.
Well, I don't remember when we first started this,
So,
what the sulfate
I
levels
guess
were.
what I'm kinda driving at here is the original engineer that started this project said water quality is gonna be an issue. Okay, and now.
I don't know where you got your information.
I
but
sat here one day and they told us that.
He never said that.
Boy, I guess my ears don't ever work.
Mike Gunch was the engineer.
The first one.
Yep. And we asked him if that was going to be a problem before we ever started this project, and he told us no. Okay, so we proceeded with it. We went through all the engineering process, it got to the point it was voted on, and we're basically ready to start doing construction, and he says, we've got a problem. That's when that came out.
Okay, so I did hear right, that it did say that water quality could be a problem.
After the fact, after it's already voted on and approved.
I just want to remember if I heard that right.
Yeah, okay. But, the very start of it, he said no.